Good afternoon. Welcome to the December 14th meeting of the Regional Advisory Committee for the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, Sacramento Committee. And we have a presentation now on the Cornerstone Village Inclusive Housing Communities with Kristine Giornalista. I'm sorry, I said that probably wrong. And Racheal Frederick-Vijay. Welcome. And I believe you have co-host abilities, so the floor is yours.
All right, can you hear me okay? Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristine Giornalista, and in a second, you'll be joined by Racheal Frederick, who's been working with Cornerstone Village and helping us navigate the different communities and advocates that exist in Northern California. So I've been with Bethesda Cornerstone Village, soon to be named AbleLight, for about 2 years, and have been excited to be part of the team that's developing these new inclusive housing communities. So we can go to the next slide. And I guess I can do that myself.
We are not seeing your slides yet.
Okay.
Go ahead and click share.
Yeah, I was seeing it on my screen in two places, so I assumed that was also the case. All right, thank you for that. Okay, can you now see?
There we go.
Yes.
Great. So before I jump in and talk about Cornerstone Village, I just wanted to give you a sense of the organization that I work for. We're kind of a sleeper organization in a lot of ways. A lot of people may not be aware of Bethesda Lutheran Communities. So we have been around since 1904 and were formed in Watertown, Wisconsin, a pretty small little town, but have since grown to be in 13 states, including the state of California, either through merging with other organizations or just deciding that we saw a gap in services in a particular state. Our purpose is to support people with diverse abilities to achieve their full potential. And so from day one, we've been supporting adults and actually young people with developmental disabilities. And we're trying to do that more and more these days by providing services that are tailored to individuals, that are meeting them where they're at and are more community-based. We have around 2,000 employees currently, and as you could probably guess, based on our prior name, Bethesda Lutheran Communities, we're a registered organization within the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. We are making a change in our name effective officially January 2022 to AbleLight, and that is to really reflect our growth and our change to be more inclusive on many fronts. Able obviously focused on people's strengths, and then also light being a guiding and helpful source for families and individuals that we support. So across all our different service lines, we're really focused on providing services for the whole person. And so those range from financial security, helping people achieve independence, providing opportunities for independence through innovation and technology, safe and loving homes, and then opportunities for people to participate in faith and other community life. And Cornerstone Village is really obviously the part of the safe and loving homes part of our organization. So our organization's been in an inflection point over the last 5 years or so, and we really want to move away from institutional congregate settings as our primary service line and way that we're providing services to people. And time again, we've heard from parent groups and self-advocates about the need for more housing options that go beyond what has previously existed. The next couple slides are sort of speaking to the choir or preaching to the choir, I guess you could say. And you may have heard this multiple times or even said it yourself. we're seeing funding sources and expectations from everyone to be more community inclusive, focused on community-based settings, and that even though we'll continue to operate group home settings or options in some of the states we're in, we know that it's not a good fit for everyone. And so we've seen the statistic, I'm sure you've seen the statistic, that a lot of adults with disabilities as they age still live with their parents. Nationally, around 75% of adults with disabilities continue to live with a parent or another caregiver, and unfortunately are not connected to publicly available services. And so nationally, there's, the estimates on this really vary, but there's approximately 1 million households that have a caregiver over the age of 60. And so what we hear often is things are fine now, but it may not be fine in 5, 10, 15 years. And I want to start planning now so that my family member can make the move to more independent living in a supported way, and not be this an emergency event where I'm no longer able to care for him or her. We've also, affordability, I've seen that as a major issue as to why people continue to live at home or stay in more institutional or congregate settings. Many of adults with disabilities live on SSI, and that in every state in the country prices you out of finding affordable housing unless you're able to secure some other resource like a project-based rental or tenant-based rental assistance. We also know that the choice to live where you live also has to do with other things beyond just finances and availability of housing. It has to do with feeling safe, being to be independent, that there's opportunities to be included, that you can participate in meaningful activities, and that where you live can attract people to support you. So sometimes, even if affordability is not a concern for a family, social isolation or the ability to keep service providers with you is a major concern. And so the conclusion that we came to as an organization is that typical apartment living may not address these needs. So that is, with those needs, we've come up with this model of these 5 pillars that really define Cornerstone Village. And with that, I want to hand this off to Racheal, and she can speak to our housing model.
Hi, I'm Racheal. Thank you. I'll try to get through this without any coughing. I've been sick, so I apologize in advance that I sound a little funny. But so there's 5 pillars of Cornerstone Village, and one of them is to be inclusive. And when we think about inclusivity, we think about housing where 25% of the building would be dedicated for people who have a developmental or intellectual disability. And the other 75% would just be either regular market rate housing or affordable housing. The 2 projects that we'll be sharing with you in Sacramento are both 100% affordable. And the idea is that, we aren't creating housing that is 100%, dedicated for people with developmental disabilities. We also really focus on building community, and that means within the building itself, but also with the broader community. One of actually both projects in Sacramento are on church land, and one of them is already greatly involved with the neighboring community. And so that will be something that would be continued as we move on. We also have resident services that are there to build community for the residents that live there or facilitate that opportunity. But it really is something that it's a facilitation where it's really resident driven and build out activities and things that the residents that live in that community are interested in either leading or participating in. So a lot of that is resident led and really focusing on building out natural supports for people It's designed for independence. So a lot of these projects are near transportation. They're either walkable to various stores or near public transportation. It's an opportunity for people to live in their own home. But there's a focus on universal design so that the needs that people have, are met through smart home technology and things of that nature. So a lot of, safety features like locking and unlocking doors, or, using your thermostat, turning things on and off are able to be done through, cell phones and different apps. We really focus on individual choice. And so with that being said, the property management arm is very separate of the services side, and the services side is always, client by client choice. So essentially the housing in and of itself is not tied to a certain service provider or tied to a mandate for services, which is very important. And then also, focusing on what the local needs are. So where we have a general idea of what communities want, we also know that what works, say in Wisconsin might not work well in California or within a local community. So really, as we develop these projects, we're making sure that we're understanding what the wants and needs of that individual community are. And next slide. So again, the pillars are to be inclusive, independent, high quality multifamily housing with 25% for individuals with IDD, with rent and traditional leases. The 25% units would obviously be in the lowest AMI, which means that the rents would be highly subsidized. Building out community, making sure that there's space for community programming, that we're fostering natural supports and personal growth through neighbors and building out an essence of community in these properties. It's not the typical housing where you may just go and you live in your life. There's the extra emphasis on getting to know your neighbors and getting to know your community and building those natural supports. They're designed, again, universal design, smart technology, promoting a sense of safety for people who are choosing to live there. And support individuals with their choice. Again, just reiterating that the services are separate from housing and that services are tailored to individual needs of the people, that they're not prescriptive to the property. Also responding to local needs, affordable market or a mix of both. It could be seniors or family developments. Both of the projects in Sacramento are family developments and affordable, 100% affordable. And then a lot of our effort is to really reach out and build local partnerships and build collaborations for this community to make things, we could have a service provider that offers services, but may, people have issues with transportation. So an example would be the community space could be used by a potential partner to come and deliver services on site, and making it convenient for both the organization to be able to meet the people they're trying to serve, and then also for the people who want to participate in those types of services. So a lot of effort around social engagement and service partnership. We're intentional communities. We're not just a building, we're creating natural communities where all residents can lead meaningful lives, developing relationships that support each other. Again, this is sort of reiterating a lot of what I've been saying. The communities are part of a community rather than in a community, that we focus on resident leadership and opportunities that, that the residents give back to one another. We facilitate experiences that are increasing physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual growth. Next slide. AbleLight has 14 communities in 3 metros in 5 years. That's their goal. And currently there are 4 that are in the process of being developed. 1 is in operations, in, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it the Victoria? Kristine?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Victoria is actually developed, built and in operations at this point. Oakdale, Minnesota, there's a property that's opening in 2023. In Milwaukee, there's another property that's opening in 2023. And Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, opening in fall of 2023. So those are 4 that are in the process of development. And then we have 2 more in Sacramento, Elk Grove area. And these are the ones that you guys would be most interested in. It's a partnership with Light of the Valley Church. They have some excess land that they've offered to AbleLight to develop and create this housing opportunity. It'd be 84 rental homes, 53 that are general affordable. 21 of those units will be for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then 9 units will be for people who previously experienced homelessness with 1 manager unit. Again, it's 100% affordable, and there's a goal to open in 2023. And then the other project is in Sacramento, Arden Arcade area. It's on Marconi, kind of between Watt Avenue and Eastern, kind of closer to Eastern. But it is a partnership with the Town and Country Lutheran Church. It's 90 rental homes, 58 are generally affordable, which means AMI is usually below 60%. 22 units for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities that would, again, would have the lowest AMI, which would, ensure that they have the lowest rent or the highest rent subsidy. And then 9 units for people who formerly experienced homelessness with a manager unit. Again, 100% affordable. It's in the pre-development phase. This one's a little bit behind the project in Elk Grove, and it's aimed to open in 2024.
Okay.
So we want to, the goal of meeting with you guys and other folks is to just really make sure that we're connecting with other self-advocates, families, and allies, so we're really sure we understand what those local needs are, that we identify, opportunities for new developments in Sacramento area, and then also, there's times where there's public meetings with city councils or other entities where, a show of support is always appreciated. So, making sure that we're sharing with you everything that we're doing along the process, and then hopefully, creating some good solid partnerships and ability to have support as we move through the project. With that, are there any questions or?
Yes, I do have a question.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Yes, you say all of these apartment complexes are 100% affordable. Could you define affordability?
Kristine, I'll let you give the formal.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, thanks for asking the hard question out of the gate, Joyce. So by affordable, we mean that it will have both income and rent restrictions. So we'll be going to the state, the city, or the county, and also the federal government for resources to get these built. And so from a leasing perspective, we'll be screening people to make sure that their incomes are at or below certain thresholds. So we have different levels, different tiers for various units. It also means there's a corresponding limit to how much rent we can charge someone, so that not only are they low income, but their rent is low enough that they can afford it. So the units that are set aside for adults with a developmental disability, or at least a household with one person that has a developmental disability, are at either 25% or 30% of the area, affordable to households at 25 or 30% of the area median income. I do not have it would take me a second to look up the precise income levels, and we could perhaps even share a chart of what those income levels are. They change from year to year as incomes and inflation happens, but it would give you a better sense. We are hoping to secure rental assistance for these units in as well, where it would either be it would be tied to the unit, but whoever's living in the unit would benefit from it. It would either be through, in these two cases, through the SHRA, the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Authority, or Section 811, which would be project-based and would be a resource
So
through the state.
right. So you're saying if you're going through SHRA, it could be 30% if it's project-based, or that you would accept the housing choice voucher?
So there's sort of two things. One, that the rents have to be capped at that 30% AMI rent level. And as we answer more questions, I'll try to pull that up for you. In addition to that, we're hoping to secure rental assistance so that if someone's income is even lower than 30% of the area median income, if their income is only 10%, that they could still afford to live there and not be burdened by the rent we're charging. And with that rental assistance, they are expected to pay 30% of their income, whatever that is.
Okay.
So then the rental assistant makes up the difference.
Right.
And go ahead, sorry.
I have a specific question, and maybe you're not ready to answer that yet, but would you be also accepting the housing choice voucher, which is administered through SHRA?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. If a unit already has the project-based rental assistance attached, we can't accept the tenant based on top of it because that'd be double dipping. But there are going to be other units that don't have the any rental assistance attached, and in which case, if someone comes in with a voucher,
They could use it. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And somebody had posted a question about what does it mean in the family development? And I think Kristine answered part of the question when she shared that somebody in the house would need to have a developmental disability, because that was a portion of that question. But family development just means there's no age restriction. It's not like senior housing. So essentially, other than the 21 or 22 units that are dedicated for people with a family member or they themselves have a disability, and the 9 units that are dedicated for people that are homeless, there's no restriction or requirement other than income. Like they're with a tax credit, which is one of the subsidies that would be part of the project. You can't make too much income. But other than that, there's no restriction on who can live there. There's no age, there's no dedicated family size other than what the unit can support. So hopefully that's helpful.
I have a comment now. The AMI has been changed, I guess in the last 2 years. It's now by zip code. So the two areas, Elk Grove and the Marconi project, I'm not sure what that zip code is, but I know that the Elk Grove is 95758, and 30%. Well, yeah, it would probably, the rent may be what the government considers affordable, but not necessarily what the individual would consider affordable.
Right. And as that's we understand that. So which is why we're trying to secure the rental assistance on top of these other sources. So regardless of what someone makes, that it's still 30%. So if they make $100 a month, for simple math, they pay $30 for their rent.
Right.
So for our set aside units, the rent that they would pay if without rental assistance is for a 1-bedroom is $375, and a 2-bedroom would be $543. So those will fluctuate by a couple dollars, by the time we open up, but that's kind of giving you a sense of the affordability levels.
Lisa's had her hand raised. Lisa?
As soon as a list is created for your apartments, will you let the community know and SHRA know that that you are accepting
Yes, we will definitely, a part of our efforts to meet with you and talk about these opportunities is to, build, not just build support, but also to help you guys understand what the process is, where we're at. And when, once construction starts, it's likely that the units that are just the general affordable aren't dedicated to any particular group, would be a lottery. And there would be a wait list, but yes, folks would definitely be made aware, especially if you participate in groups like this, you'll know when that happens. And then also that it's likely that the 21 units will come from referrals from Alta Regional Center. And so, what that looks like exactly, we don't know yet, but as we learn and go through that process, definitely be sharing that out with people so that you can be prepared.
Second question, that's okay.
Yes.
Will you accept people that do not have what used to be known as Section 8 vouchers?
Yes.
Apartments.
Yes. Yeah, so the unit, like Kristine shared, the units that we're trying to secure a subsidy to that particular unit. So whether it's what they call a project-based rental subsidy, which is attached to the unit, not like the voucher.
Or a tenant-based subsidy.
Yeah, or yes, but then we also have the tenant-based subsidy. Okay, so for the units that are, say they have that 811 or project-based rental subsidy, those would have the 30% of income kind of already worked into to what the rent would be. But the other units, yes, you can use a project-based voucher, or there may be some people who want to set up a roommate situation and could potentially income qualify, or may have income that allows them to income qualify for one of the other units that are set at a different AMI. So it's not restricted, I guess. If it's the only restriction on those units is around income.
Any other questions for Kristine or Racheal from the group? Sonia?
Well, first, thank you so much, Kristine and Racheal. We've been talking behind the scenes, and we're just so excited about all of your efforts in our area and that you're so committed to increasing housing options in our region. And that's just fabulous, because every unit is a new home for someone who otherwise may not be able to find a place that they can afford and move on with being more independent in their life. So thank you for your efforts in reaching out. I know you're interested possibly in expanding to some of our other nearby counties. So as well as additional developments within Sacramento County. What can this group do to either be in contact with you or let you know where there are areas of need? I see Diane on the call, and I know she's very passionate about housing options or lack thereof in Nevada County. I also see Paul Plattner on the call, and he's also very involved with Nevada County. Should people reach out to you to express interest in partnering or expressing the need in those regions? What are next steps that families or individuals can do?
Yeah, absolutely, Sonia. If anyone on this call has an idea for a specific community or a site, or just has a really engaged group of people that you don't have land identified, but you're ready to go, and we'd love to have a conversation. We, as part of the slides where we show you our goals as an organization, like we do want to make a dent in this. And even though it does seem incremental when you look at just the numbers, like this is not a one-off or just these two. We hope to continue to do more. And so we have to do that through partnerships, though. Having everyone at the seat, having a seat at the table, whether it's because you know the local city council person or how to navigate also regional center services, or that's very important. So yeah, Diane and Paul or whoever, please, we have our contact information at the end of the slides. I can also put my email and Rachel's email in the chat. And then there's also, if you go into our website, if you don't feel comfortable just reaching out directly, or it's later, we do have a, contact us feature on our website, and lo and behold, that actually ends up coming to me. So you'll get to me one way or another.
I have another question. Are you working with the Sacramento Housing Alliance?
The Sacramento Housing Alliance.
Yeah, so we aren't working with them directly on this project. I am very familiar with them and have worked with them for many, many years. And so whether, it's always a good connection, to have, but we have not actually directly reached out to that particular group as of yet. But yes, I'm totally familiar. I know people there, and definitely would be a good connection. Thanks for bringing that up.
There's,
I don't think that's a question for you guys.
Yeah, I read that question. I was like, I don't think that's ours.
yeah.
Karen has her hand raised. Karen.
Thanks. Just so I understand it in my own head, how you work. I mean, usually these projects have layers of funding and variety of different housing organizations and state funding and so forth. So are you primarily providing the land or are you also working with to secure project-based vouchers? Or maybe you can help me understand. For example, I know up in El Dorado County, which is the one I represent, a number of years ago, there was some commercial property that was acquired, and that if it's turned into affordable housing, that's a free option for anybody in the city of Placerville area. And they were looking for partners to help essentially create that layer of funding for affordable housing. And so is that something where you would partner with an entity like that, or is that kind of the role that you play?
Yeah, so we are a developer in our own right. So that's what I've done, at various organizations, always in the affordable housing space. A lot of it's supportive housing. So it's finding all the money you need to get the project built, but it's also identifying those rental subsidies to help make it even more deeply affordable. It's working with community groups that understand the need that in the community, or different service providers that can help people maintain their housing. So Bethesda's we don't have a track record yet in the state of California with the different state agencies. So we have to partner with local developers. You basically have to demonstrate that you've done at least 5, I believe it's 5 projects, to be able to take off your training wheels and apply for the funding on your own. So in the case of both of these projects, we're working with the John Stewart Company. So they're our co-developer. And so we're handling some of the heavy lifting. They're handling other parts of it. They will also be the property manager. And our ongoing role with the development, besides long-term ownership with them, would be the resident life piece. So if there's a local group that has an idea, has access to land, has access to some generous people who want to get something going, we're happy to partner, whatever that may mean. It can mean a lot of different things. We don't necessarily come with land. We have to find the land and sometimes it's a matter of us looking on, working with a broker. Other times it's a city that does a request for proposals because they particularly want to see that land developed as affordable housing or as some type of housing. Or it could be something where we, the stars align and someone says, hey, we've got this land here and we've got this idea and your idea matches ours. And so let's work together. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's really helpful. It's it's always so complex, all the various pieces. So that really helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one more question. Hello?
Okay, yep.
Are these apartment complexes going to be permanently affordable?
So in the state of California, if you get any tax credits or money from the Department of Housing and Community Development, you're committing to 55-year affordability period. By that time, 55 years rolls around, that seems like nearly permanent. And that's a point where the buildings need to be reinvested in, refinanced, or rehabbed. So most likely they would be, more state resources would be reinvested in them.
Because the reason I raise that issue is that some of the affordable communities that are in process now are going to be 100% permanently affordable. And I don't know how that was set up, but to me, that's always just reassuring to know that even though 55 years seems a long way off, that for the future, it would be nice to know that they're always going to have, there will always be places that are available.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Joyce. Couple things. One, if you actually look at the legal documents, when people say permanently affordable, there's probably still a time limit on it. The longest I've seen is 99 years, and that's usually when there's a public housing entity involved. But having said that, if we have, as a nonprofit developer owner, our intention is to keep these up and running and affordable for as long as possible. So whereas there might be others that would want to turn it as soon as possible to market rate or whatever.
Yeah, there may be some 99% 99-year limit on some, but my impression was, because I also have dealings with the land trust community,
Right.
that they do advertise 100%, I mean, excuse me, not 100%, but permanently affordable. And I need to find out if that is actually true now that you're saying that.
Well, I wasn't thinking of land trusts, and I think that's the exception. I think, Joyce, you're right on with land trusts. They're set up to be, they have a different structure.
Okay.
So it's very likely that, until the sun explodes, that they're going to be affordable.
And we won't be around, hopefully.
Sonia has another question.
Yeah, thanks again. And I just want to highlight again how complex these issues are. When we were doing our 5-year state plan, getting input from the community, housing often comes up as an issue and a need. And just saying we want affordable housing is something people can say, but to understand what goes on behind the scenes in terms of the development, taking multiple agencies and years to develop and get the fund, secure the funding and get everything set up. So thank you for your commitment to that. And also just a mention to those of you who are on the call that when we put out calls, when Kristine and Racheal and other entities need input, they need to hear from families or individuals who want this housing, who are willing to speak up, to write a letter, to attend a Board of Supervisors meeting. That's another one of the reasons we really wanted to invite them, just to let you know that your voice really, really matters. Just Peter and John from Alta speaking up at the Elk Grove Board of Supervisors meetings made a difference in getting that funding. So your voices as family members and as individuals looking for housing makes a difference, even if 2 or 3 of you, email Kristine and Racheal and go, I'm available, I'm ready, because I'm looking for housing or my family member is. So please reach out to them to be on their list to contact, let them know what county you live in, what your situation is, and your story could make the difference of them getting funding from another entity or getting approved, from a local city. So again, thank you for sharing, and for everybody who's here listening. And we are recording this, so we will make it available to those that couldn't make it as well.
And both Kristine and Racheal put their contact information in the chat, but Sonia also has that available if you miss it or think later you wish you had it. I'm not seeing any other raised hands for this item. So I will remind you all that our next RAC Advisory Committee meeting is set for 10 a.m. on February 15th. The schedule for our 2022 meetings was included in the agenda, so please add all of these dates to your calendar.